All right, let's jump right in. Today we're talking about a really cool framework called Mello's Cognitive Amplification Framework, or MCAF for short. And it's built on this pretty wild idea about what artificial intelligence is really for, an idea that could honestly change how we look at technology altogether. And this quote from its creator, John Mello, just hits the nail on the head. We're not talking about another AI that's going to take your job or do your thinking for you. No, the vision here is completely different. It's about an AI that works with us, like a partner, to make us smarter, better, and faster. So what in the world is cognitive amplification? Well, think of it like a co-pilot for your brain. It's technology designed specifically to boost what you can already do, your creativity, your decision-making, your ability to learn new things. It's not about replacing you, it's about upgrading you. So what is it that makes this AI so different from all the other stuff we're seeing out there? Let's peel back the layers and take a look. Okay, the key phrase here, the real magic, is dynamically adapt. MCAF isn't some static, one-size-fits-all program. It's designed to literally read your cognitive state as you work, your stress, your focus, your fatigue, and then adjust itself in real time to help you think clearer and learn faster. This table really lays it all out. I mean, look at the big players like OpenAI or IBM Watson. Their focus is on generating stuff or crunching huge amounts of data. But MCAF, its core focus is totally different. It's all about enhancing your mind. It personalizes itself to how you think, and it actively collaborates with you. That's a huge departure from the whole prompt and response thing we're used to. So the big question is, how does this thing actually pull it off? Well, the whole system is built on 4 fundamental pillars that all work together. And here they are: motivation, cognition, attention, and flexibility. You can almost think of them as the operating system for your mind. Each one plays a really specific and crucial role. First up is motivation. This is the fuel, the engine of the whole system. It's about connecting whatever you're doing to your personal why. When you're genuinely bought in and you get the purpose behind something, your brain just works better. It's that simple. Next is cognition. This is like the CPU of your brain, right? The logic center that does all the heavy lifting. MCFC helps organize information to reduce the strain on your brain, breaking down really complex stuff so it's way easier to digest. Then you've got attention. Think of this as the gatekeeper for your mind. We live in a world of constant noise and information overload, right? Well, your attention is what decides what actually gets in and what gets ignored. This pillar helps you manage that focus and cut through the chaos. And finally, we have flexibility. This is all about being able to pivot and roll with the punches. When things change, when the plan goes out the window, flexibility is what allows you to adapt your strategy and find a new way forward instead of just getting stuck. Now, here's where things get really deep. This framework isn't just a practical tool. It's actually built on a pretty profound theory about how our minds work. The core idea is that our thoughts and our feelings aren't just a random, chaotic mess. They actually follow a kind of logic, almost like a math equation. In this model, your emotions are the variables, your thoughts are the rules, and the context, the situation you're in, that's the operator. It's the plus or minus sign that can change the entire result. And this quote just makes it all click. Think about it. The sum of a human experience isn't fixed like in math. In a happy, joyful context, 2 inputs might create something amazing. But in a fearful context, those exact same 2 inputs could lead to a total disaster. The outcome all depends on that emotional dimension. So here's how our 4 pillars slot right into this equation of the mind. Motivation, that's the energy, the input that gets the whole thing started. Cognition is the formula, the operation that processes everything. Attention is the variable selector. It chooses which data to plug into the formula. And flexibility, that's the adaptive constant, the thing that can rewrite the whole equation when the situation changes. The perfect metaphor for all of this is what's called the chameleon theory. I mean, it's brilliant, right? A chameleon is constantly reading its environment, driven by its needs, and changing its very nature to adapt and survive. That is the MCAF cycle, perfectly embodied in nature. So we have this incredibly sophisticated AI framework based on this deep theory of the human mind. But where did it actually come from? Well, get ready, because the answer is probably not what you're thinking. Did it come out of some high-tech lab in Silicon Valley? A secretive research project at a top university? Nope, not even close. It started with John Mello, not as an AI developer, but as an educational assistant. an educational assistant who, later in his life, was diagnosed with ADHD himself. And that personal insight changed everything. You see, in his classroom, he saw these brilliant, creative, neurodiverse kids who were struggling, not because they weren't smart, but because the system wasn't built for the way their brains worked. They had trouble with focus, with staying engaged, with just switching from one task to another. And this whole incredible framework, it wasn't born in a lab. It began with just one student in mind, a bright, super energetic third-grade boy with ADHD, who we'll just call Liam. The original goal had nothing to do with building an AI. It was much simpler, and maybe way more important. It was to create what Mello calls low-friction learning environments. Basically, places where students like Liam could actually thrive, instead of just trying to cope and get through the day. The 4 pillars were first just a practical tool to make that a reality. So how in the world does a classroom tool designed for a third grader connect to the bleeding edge of artificial intelligence? Well, this is where it all comes full circle. Look at this. There are 2 sides of the exact same idea. On one side, you've got this ambitious, scalable AI framework. On the other, you've got its origin, an empathetic, inclusive tool for the classroom. They seem like they're from different planets, but they are built on the exact same universal principles of how the mind works. And this, right here, is the key takeaway. It turns out that the principles you need to create an empathetic, inclusive, and effective learning environment for a neurodiverse child are the very same principles you need to amplify any human mind. True innovation, it seems, might come from understanding and supporting our most diverse thinkers. So it just leaves you with this one fascinating question to think about. What if the key to unlocking the next great leap in technology isn't buried in code and algorithms, but it's found in the simple, profound act of helping a child learn?